Hello viewers and welcome to Corruption Must Go, ICPC's weekly television program. I am your host for today, Murna Barnabas Atiaye. As we prepare for the 2023 general elections and a change of power in Nigeria, there is need to remind ourselves of integrity issues that may arise in the course of the electioneering campaigns, the balloting process, and the post-voting process. One of the most pressing issues is the phenomenon known as vote buying. Today, we shall be focusing on this issue and examining its consequences and adverse effects on Nigeria's electoral process. But first, Joy Aja is on standby with updates on happenings in the world of anti-corruption. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you, Murna. Welcome to this segment on anti-corruption stories. I am Joy Aja. The Sussex stories recorded in the Nigerian port sector have been attributed to the reform-mindedness and zero-tolerance policy on corruption by the government and the collaborative support of all port agencies and stakeholders. This was disclosed by the chairman of ICPC, Professor Bolaji Owasonye SAN, through a deputy director in ICPC, Mr. Jimoh Sulaiman, at the second edition of a compliance roundtable on institutionalizing operational efficiency through stronger compliance function within the agencies, convened by the Federal Ministry of Transportation in conjunction with the Convention on Business Integrity. Professor Owasonye explained that ICPC's interventions at the ports were aimed at sanitizing the ports of corruption and corrupt elements by infusing ethics and integrity into ports processes and promoting Nigeria's ease of doing business policy.
With the mandate to mobilize citizens for corruption prevention and for general enforcement of Nigeria's anti-corruption law, ICPC's interventions in the port sector have been consistent and focused. For the benefit of our hindsight, ICPC's intervention in the port sector can be explained in the following terms. Sanitizing the ports of corruption and corrupt elements by infusing ethics and integrity into ports processes, mitigating negative lack of integrity on international trade and thereby promoting Nigeria's ease of doing business policy, and facilitating appropriate resolutions and consequences for wrongdoings within the ambit of the law. And lastly, undertaking rigorous enforcement on infractions at the ports. ICPC was successful in this intervention mainly due to the reform-mindedness and zero-tolerance policy on corruption by the government and the collaborative support of all port agencies. The Commission, therefore, embraces all efforts to strengthen these various interventions and reforms that have yielded positive results. No doubt, in an environment where competition exists, it is unlikely to have attendant and steering rivalry or tough contests among officials of agencies operating within the sector. But this must not be allowed to detract or retard the progress already been achieved.
Also speaking at the event, the representative of the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Shippers Council, NSC, Mr. Moses Fadipe, discussed the Council's interventions in the port sector over time, saying that in their quest to embed compliance in the maritime sector, one of the statutory products of NSC being used was the compliance with the handling mechanism.
We see that the Shippers have been issued from inception, takes care of the shippers, that's the users. But government, through its expansion statutory role, made or appoint the Shippers Council as a regulator in 2014. And this makes Shippers Council to be able to act on behalf of all interests, be you a provider of services or a consumer of services. So these have given us an effective regulatory regime at the ports for control of tariffs, rates, charges, as well as enforcement of agencies' standard operating procedures to address the negative impact of port concession activities on the economy.
That will be all on this segment. Corruption Must Go continues with Murna. Stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, do you know that constituency projects are actually your projects? Do you know that constituency projects are funded by the federal government? Do you know that you can track release of constituency project funds for projects located in your constituency and follow up to know how they have been executed? Constituency projects happen because government does not want to leave any community out in development efforts. You have a responsibility to know what constituency project has been planned for your community, how much has been allocated for it, and whether value for money has been delivered. Take ownership of constituency projects located in your community. Protect them because they belong to you. Government knows about your needs and is planning for you. Government needs your help to ensure quality delivery. Know that constituency projects are actually your projects. Protect your constituency project. My constituency, my project.
For information on funds allocated to projects in your constituency, call 0800 2255 4272.
This message is from the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and the National Orientation Agency.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, this is Corruption Must Go. Vote buying is the act of giving material benefit to an individual voter in exchange for support in a ballot. In other words, it is providing voters with benefits in the form of gifts or incentives in exchange for voting the giver or candidates. It occurs at various levels of the electioneering process in Nigeria. Section 124, subsection 1 of the Electoral Act 2010 categorically forbids vote buying in whatever form, while subsection 2 forbids vote selling. According to the Act, anyone found guilty of either offense shall be liable to a fine of 500,000 naira or imprisonment not exceeding 12 months or both. However, despite this law, vote buying has taken the center stage in Nigeria's political and electoral activities as a thriving industry. Should this trend be allowed to continue unabated? How does it impact Nigeria's political future? Our Corruption Must Go crew spoke to some Nigerians, and this is what they had to say.
Vote buying is a recurrent issue that distorts the process of an election and undermines the integrity of announced results. We spoke to some citizens of Nigeria, and here is what they have to say concerning vote buying.
Vote buying is generally an exchange between the electorates, political parties, and candidates who are running for an election. This can either be material exchange or financial exchange in terms of cash, in terms of rewards, promises, access to opportunities or benefits. It could also involve manipulation or threats by these candidates' parties or even the electorates who are supporters of certain aspirants in order to withhold certain opportunities until they change an electorate's electoral behavior in favor of a particular aspirant.
Vote buying, it is an unconstitutional, it's an illegal practice whereby you exchange your votes, your civil rights, your political strength, and even your civic engagement that the government, the federal government of our land has given to you. You exchange it by selling your civil rights, exchanging it with money. So it is an illegal and unconstitutional practice that has to be we have to be avoided by all means.
As years go by, things change. What are some of these popular trends with vote buying that happen now?
So for popular trends we have in our own community, Nigeria, we have issues of exchange of food materials, exchange of cash, we have exchange of opportunities such as employment, promotions. We even have issues of threats. So in vote buying, there is also the aspect of manipulation, threat of family members, or threat of withholding certain benefits or even opportunities that are due people naturally. So these are some of the areas where vote buying prevail within our context in Nigeria.
Well, I think our political party or others, political office holders, it is not a new trend. It's not a new practice for them to have to lure the electorate or the citizens just for them to be able to capture their future, their destiny in exchange for money. And one of the ways to which they go about that is that trying to convince them, most especially the gullibles, those ones that are not, that they don't have future, so to say, that are visionless. These are the set of people that they are easily captured, they are easily deceived by all these tricks.
Right. Now, as far as vote buying is concerned, how does it now affect citizens? How does it affect, the economy? How does it even affect other politicians?
Vote buying is one challenge that destroys any society, especially a democratic society or a society that is trying so hard to uphold the principles and tenets of democracy. One of the effects of vote buying is first the disruption of the integrity of an electoral process. It creates mistrust or distrust between the electorate and the candidates or political parties that are vying for that particular position. It results in violence in most cases, as we've seen in Nigeria over time. It could also result in the erosion of confidence of electorates or citizens in holding their leaders accountable after they get into position. And that will in turn affect the society in areas of delivery. When it comes to accountability, first of all, your leaders will not see any reason to be accountable for you because they have paid you off, in quotes. Secondly, our structures or our systems will not work because those leaders did not get in based on issue-based politics, but money politics. Thirdly, the democratic process will not be upheld because everything that has to do with the democracy, which includes citizens' participation, holding leaders accountable, and citizens being able to question the ills of society will not be possible. These are some of the impact and effects of vote buying that we have.
Okay, I think the major one is because our votes, our PVC, which is our permanent voters card, it is a way or a means of safeguarding the electoral integrity. So the moment that we now exchange it for money, we now use money. These politicians, desperate politicians, they want to now use money in order to seize, in order to capture our mind, our interest. So first and foremost, it's going to have a dynamic, or let me say, it's going to have a kind of a misunderstanding that is going to affect our social occurrence, political occurrence. It's going to affect our economic prosperous and a whole lot of things that is going to affect.
Let's say you want to take advantage of the platform, right? And what's that one message you want to give Nigerians that will dissuade them from vote buying?
The one message I will tell Nigerians is, what do you hold on to as a human and as a citizen? You need to be able to hold on to something as a value or principle, or else you fall to anything. And your leaders are the determinants of your life, your future, and everything that affects generations to come. If you do not stand up for the right things, we will lose Nigeria. There will not be a Nigeria to fall back to at the end of the day. So you need to be willing to intentionally do the right thing, no matter the cost. I know there's fear. I know that there is threat. I know that sometimes the hunger is too much to just wait 4 years for the system to change. But it starts with one step. If we are willing to beat up that person who steals 15 naira akara or 1,000 naira or snatches your phone on the roadside, why would you not be willing to hold a leader who determines your life for 4 or 8 years accountable?
First and foremost, my word of advice, most especially for the young persons, the people with disabilities, our women, they should make sure they go out, they vote massively, to vote out massively. So they should not allow any person, any politician, or any political holder to lure them or to deceive them by selling their voters' rights, by selling their future, selling their destiny. So my own take is for them to make sure that they don't allow anybody to deceive them or to trick them by any means in exchanging their future for money.
Well, there you have it. Vote buying is definitely not the way to go. Ensure that you get your PVC, exercise your rights to vote, vote wisely, and above all, avoid every instance of vote buying. Corruption must go continues. Stay with us.
The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is not ignorant of the challenges of organizing a credible election and had long entered into dialogues with anti-graft agencies on the best ways possible to ensure that this year's elections do not go like others. Speaking recently at a stakeholders summit on addressing the influence of money on the forthcoming general elections organized by INEC, Professor Yakubu Mahmood expressed concern over the negative role money plays in the electioneering campaigns, while disclosing some of the technical measures the body had put in place to mitigate them. Let us hear him.
The negative role of money in elections goes to the very heart of our democracy. It destroys the very basis of democratic elections, which is that citizens should freely choose those who exercise power on their behalf. It renders the emergence of the right candidates for positions extremely difficult, undermines fair electoral adjudication, and destroys the professional and independent conduct of INEC officials and other public agencies involved in elections. Even more worrisome is the high prospect that criminal money may find its way into our elections through money laundering. Above all, the pernicious use of money tremendously increases the likelihood of election violence due to a win-at-all-cost mentality among contestants who have invested a fortune in election. Surely, election is not a business venture for profit. Instead, it is an application to serve the people with the understanding that the people may prefer someone else on one occasion, but then there would be an opportunity to reapply after 4 years. Citizens' choices must never be subverted by the negative use of money. Let me similarly reiterate the Commission's resolve to continue to employ both technology and administrative measures to strengthen Nigeria's electoral process. I assure Nigerians that preparation for the 2023 general election is on course, and we shall not be swayed from that course. Be assured that the BVAS has come to stay. Electronic transmission of results has come to stay. Public display of polling unit results through IREV has come to stay. With today's initiative, the elimination of the negative use of money in our electoral process will be tackled head-on.
Still on the summit, the ICPC chairman, Professor Bolaji Owasonye, SAN, shared how the Commission is preparing to support INEC to monitor compliance with the extant provisions of the Electoral Act. Take a listen.
The illegal diversion of public funds by public officials to finance election is very well documented. Vote buying is also beyond a matter of perception. It is real and blatant, as the experience of law enforcement agencies has revealed in recent times. our own experience at ICPC on the field, and also at our policy dialogues on the same subject matter, have revealed clearly that it's critical that we have this conversation. So what can law enforcement agencies and ICPC, what we will do? The first is to support INEC to monitor compliance with the Electoral Act generally. The Electoral Act is a great legislative effort that has made provision to regulate election campaign financing in Nigeria by putting caps on election campaign spending in respect of different elective offices, and imposed a duty on political parties to submit annual statements of assets and liabilities, restricted foreign donations and financing, as well as criminalizing vote buying and other forms of corrupt practices. Political parties and politicians should note that intelligence gathering concerning their activities are ongoing, and this will continue into and after the election. As the new Naira currencies are issued and circulate, the CBN's regulation on the limits of withdrawal are being tracked and monitored by the appropriate agencies of government, and no matter the layers of laundering schemes employed, this new policy helps us to track. We have been and will continue to deploy officers for election monitoring with visual aids to document vote buying, because sometimes you cannot immediately enforce during the process, but after, in order not to disrupt, because as we know, elections can be extremely volatile and emotive and emotional. So the recording of the process and what we find will enable follow-up activities, as we had in Ekiti, Anambra, and Osun elections, including assault on some of our officers who landed up in hospital.
Staff of ICPC participated as observers and monitored the recently concluded Osun State gubernatorial elections as part of efforts geared towards curbing vote buying and other irregularities associated with the conduct of elections in Nigeria. This year, ICPC is poised to do even more by monitoring the elections armed with visual aids to document any incidents of vote buying. Vote buying leads through the emergence of unqualified candidates and poor governance by usurping citizens' right to hold their elected officials accountable because that right had been bought. Also, when politicians fail to fulfill their campaign promises, citizens lack the moral grounds to demand accountability. Our economy will continue to plunge, hospitals and other critical infrastructures will remain poor, and unemployment will be on the increase. Therefore, the outcome of the forthcoming election is in your hands, the voters. Ensure you vote for credible and responsible leaders. Avoid buying or selling votes, as it is against the law, and if caught, perpetrators will be made to face the full wrath of the law. That's our package on this week's edition. Report any act of corruption taking place around you. Please contact us on our toll-free numbers 0800 call ICPC showing on your screen. You can watch episodes of this program on YouTube channel www.youtube.com/ICPC Nigeria. And don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms showing on your screen. Thank you for staying with us. Bye for now.